right. So if you could start by just telling us your name and school district and what union you're a part of.
My name is Kashira Reid. I'm a pre-K teacher for DC Public Schools and a part of the Washington Teachers Union.
Great, thank you. And how long have you been teaching in DCPS?
This will be my 4th year in DCPS. I was formerly in Charlotte Mecklenburg schools prior to moving back here.
Great. So I'm just gonna jump into it and ask, when was it that it kind of hit you that this pandemic was really going to impact your school and DCPS as a whole in a major way? What do you remember about that time?
Well, for our school, we started getting text messages from like different teachers. Did you see us on the news? Did you see on the news that they're closing a high school? Because our school is an elementary, a middle school, but it also has a high school with the same name. It doesn't necessarily feed into it because you have to pass the test to get into it, but they had closed the high school that Sunday. And I said, well, why are you closing the high school and you're not closing us? Because many of the high school students volunteer or share our facilities. They're a few blocks away, but they share our facilities. So many of their students come every day. So immediately I said, if you close them, we don't really know if one of them came to our school. It would be smart just on the safe side to close us too. But that didn't happen. They said, well, we're going to clean you all school Sunday. You're going to clean our whole school Sunday? And it's going to be ready in the morning on Monday? So, that led into feeling uneasy from the start. Like, I knew that if we closed down, I was not going back in. And when we came, you could tell that the bathrooms had been cleaned. The outside the surfaces had been wiped down. But a teacher took a Clorox wipe to the railing of the steps. And you would imagine that Clorox wipe was black by the time she came down. So the stairway is something that is used all throughout the day for all grades, pre-K, because we have both an elementary and a middle school. So we got about 90 people on staff in a whole pre-K through 8th grade. So yeah, I automatically, and some teachers didn't come to school that next day. Once they heard that over the weekend and were like, you're going to clean up until, and it's going to be ready at 7:45 tomorrow, I'm not convinced. And they said they would bring a company from the outside. And we're already short staffed when it comes to custodians. It's like 5 custodians at the max, and they come kind of like staggered. And it's just really a lot for them to clean, honestly. And I don't put blame on them. It's a lot to clean on a daily basis. And then when you have people that don't necessarily respect their role and keep their own area clean, that's a lot.
Yeah, so how soon after all of that went down did things just completely shut down and go virtual?
We came in, I want to say we came in for we were scheduled to have a teacher workday that following Monday anyway. And that teacher workday ended up turning that following week. So like a week's time. So we spent 4 days in there, and I was like, are the students still coming every day after school? Like, what facilities are we sharing?
And when things did go virtual, how does that work with pre-K? How did you manage that? It seems like that would be incredibly difficult. So I'm curious as to how you
It was a lot of this right here. Miss Reid. A lot of it was a lot, and I really changed my style, my approach, not my style, because I really believe in building strong relationships. So I really focused on changing it into a communal experience of what things from their home that are tangible to them can I use for them to have an experience, a natural learning experience, because they're inquisitive at that age. They want to learn. They're like sponges, every single thing they can remember. Now in their mind, something that happened last week was like 3 months ago, but they can remember the details of everything. And you said such and such and such, and so said such, and they had on this and they wore that, and we play this, so I had to use things in their example, in their home. So example, we were learning about building, and the structures of buildings. So I had them to go in their house and count all of their windows, count all their doors, and then come back to me and tell me how many you got. I had them to use cubes to measure the width of the window. So I had to use a lot of things like in your home to try to get them. And of course, show and share is always a winner every Friday. Like show and share, bring whatever you want. And I would do I had also used my kids because I have two kids at home myself, a third grader and a sixth grader at that time. So my daughter would do a science experiment with them. So we would have show and share and a kid science experiment. And I would tell them ahead of time what to bring. And she would lead them into doing it. And of course, I'm right there. But you really have to change because the attention span, you got a good 15, 20 minutes. You got a good 15, 20 minutes online.
And did you run into any issues with like internet or web device access issues with your kids or their parents?
Um, Not at our particular school. A lot of them had access to technology, not in my grade band. So pre-K is like, it's not necessarily done uh, just solely on the lottery. If a child has a speech impediment or IEP or anything like that, they can come. And so they offer them wherever a spot is. So their spot could be anywhere. So we have the digital divide doesn't always affect pre-K in my school. But as soon as you move to kindergarten, that's a different story. We have kids coming from everywhere. Um, for me, myself, I knew how slow my computer was at school, so I really didn't want anything from the school to be successful. So I just bought it from Best Buy. I bought this laptop that we're talking on right now, and I bought a laptop. I bought my son a Chromebook, and my daughter borrowed a Chromebook from one of my aunts. So I just made it happen for myself. But if I were a first year teacher, that's not something that's in a first year teacher's budget. It's just not. They got about 2, 3 roommates. They got 2 or 3 jobs. It's not.
Totally. Yeah. I'm curious. So I love the idea of your daughter doing this science experiment and stuff with them. Are there any other memorable moments that you had with your students or their parents or anything for the last couple months of the year?
um, Good or bad.
Either is fine. Both.
um, I think for this particular work, that you're doing, getting stories of people, one of the most impactful conversations was with one of my parents who was very overwhelmed of how she was going to do this. And it was a 2-parent home and they still were overwhelmed. I mean, she was in tears and she said, I'm not a teacher. That's why I sent them to school. How am I going to do this? I mean, I talked on off for like an hour with her, just trying to talk off the ledge. Like, it's gonna be okay. I really don't know what we're gonna do, but we're gonna come up with a plan together. And to help with the parents' overwhelmingness, because when you teach pre-K, when parents have young children at home, it is much more challenging because the children are not as independent as older children. So one of the things I did was I had a parent meeting where they could share their ideas with each other. Okay, how are you surviving this? And try to create a sense of community. And I said, well, the benefit, do you all have, a lot of you live near each other. So what can you do with each other to support one another. You know, if so and so is a doctor and they have to see patients this morning, but you know, is it a babysitter you can share? Can you, problem solve? And then I had my room parent to create a Google Doc of all the ideas and things they had done with their children that were successful, so it could be like a resource for them. Um, so just talking, just kind of calming the parents down and not, because they were beating themselves up, that they weren't successful, and I didn't want that.
That parent meeting sounds like that's like a brilliant idea.
It is definitely going to happen again this time. I only did one that at that time. I'm going to do it on a regular basis. And if you show up, you show up. If you don't, you don't. It has to be a sense of community. We have to have that to be successful.
Definitely. So, and that kind of leads me into my last question, which is how are you going to approach this fall since things are starting virtually and kind of building that community? These meetings sound like a great way to do that. And then I guess my other question kind of related to that is just what are your thoughts about just reopen, I'll use that in quotation marks, reopening in general. What are your thoughts about how that should happen and how this school year should roll out? Like if you were in charge, what would you do? I guess is one big question I have.
Hold on. Let me ask my son to get my charger because my laptop is dying. Hold on. Thank you. I'm definitely for this next school year. I'm definitely going to continue to have the parent meetings or parent like check-ins. I think that the district is asking us to do individual like check-ins with the kids. So I think for it to be more relational, I'm going to make it like a lunch time. Like let's do lunch together. Because I think a lot of the plans ignore social emotional. Um, I'm sorry. They ignore the social emotional piece of it, and that'll kind of give me a check, that's one-on-one time, especially with kids that are very shy. That's very important. Um, in the parent time, I think I'm gonna break it up and maybe not have all of the parents on at a time. I'm just gonna kind of see how it goes. If you want to come again, if you come, if you don't. But I know that some of my parents are essential workers, and so I spent a lot of time on them last spring and doing check-ins, and that's why it was important for me to do recording. So all of my lessons were like 8 minutes. That's how many minutes you had on Class Dojo. So it was 8 minutes. So I would do a plan that was like a slideshow for them for each day. Here's the literacy, here's the math, here's how to, and then I'll do a video of how to play the game with their child. Um, um, and different ones responded differently. Like they would want to I had one little girl, like she's watching the videos at like 7, 8 o'clock at night. Like she wants to watch them over and over and over, over again. And I would read the stories of the day on there too. And whatever else we had, I would leave it up so they can see it at any time, so they can catch up over the weekend. Um, and I actually think it makes the capacity for learning more because when you're in person, you can't hit the teacher's lesson twice. you know, you can't. So the community is definitely going to be my approach. Now I'm going to find out what this final schedule is tomorrow, so I might have a different answer tomorrow on how I'm going to survive. But it's definitely going to be more small groups, my assistant will have a small group, I'll have a small group, and perhaps we will switch. We'll swap groups and have only one independent. And one thing I had my parents to do that I'm going to do again this year is, well, if they did it, is to have them to set up centers in their home, because children at this age, they learn through play. A lot of people want to just put them at the desk and paper and pencil, not appropriate. Um, they that does not create any kind of 21st century learning. It doesn't. Um, to set up centers in their home, and some examples that they can have. Not that you have to buy all these things. Your kids have, a lot of my kids at our school, they have a whole lot of toys at home. Put these toys in these specific categories, and that will be their centers in home. So that's my plan so far, Joe.
No, that sounds great. That sounds awesome. And what are your thoughts overall on the fall, on reopening? When do you think schools should reopen to in person? What do you think about the mayor's plan so far? Just curious about your thoughts overall on the reopening plan that the district has.
I think the reopening plan to open in November I think it's best to rip the Band-Aid off for the parents. You know, I just don't see us going back in the middle of flu season. It's going to be hard to tell the difference between flu and COVID, I would think. Um, and how is COVID going to affect the flu? Is the flu going to be more deadly than it was this past season? How are they going to interact with one another? I'm hoping for a lot of snow and a lot of cold temperatures, freeze it all. And also, not bringing the teachers to the table is a level of, teachers are already used to kind of a level of disrespect, but this is different. This level of disrespect and not bringing teachers to the table of what the plan should be. And even, I would say, bringing children at the table. They're the ones in the class. First of all, you should have been asking the kids before now what they think about school. They do the little surveys to make it seem like they really have a voice, but no. These are different type of kids. They have a lot of creativity. I think that the kids are really the ones that don't have struggling life circumstances. And I won't say that. I won't limit that either. They might have time to really be who they really are in quarantine. We have an opportunity to grow them in who they are, who they were created to be. And I not asking any of us to the table I just can't even conceive it. It's hard. It's a hard pill to swallow. I never thought that I would have to ask for my life. That's that is completely and I believe that parents are going to be expecting school to be different because they're seeing their kids in a new light. The world is much different prior to the pandemic. A lot of people have been enlightened, and they're going to expect a different experience for school to be. And I'm not just talking about taking down bullying and things like that. No, how innovative is education going to be? How much freedom are the children going to have to expand their knowledge? They naturally want to know. Why don't we go along with their kind of like a Montessorian type of philosophy, but they are driven to the things that they were created for, is what I believe.
Yeah, thank you so much for that. And that pretty much brings us to the end. The last thing I always offer is like if there's anything else you want to say or that you feel like was left unsaid, I just give you like a last chance to just say anything, and then we can cut off the recording after that. And if not, that's fine too.
um, I think for those that may, because this can make teachers say, well, am I really being overreactive? Is this really, maybe I should consider it's okay with a hybrid model or, social distancing. What I say to you is this: The flu, 20 kids in a pre-K room, 8 kids catch the flu, give it to me, I'm in the hospital for 2 weeks. I mean, I'm out of work for 2 weeks, in the hospital for 4 days. It attacks my asthma so bad that I have to be on maintenance. This was spring 2019. It is now fall 2020. And my conversation with my pulmonologist yesterday was, yeah, let's do the maintenance just to try to build up your lungs. I've never been on maintenance for asthma before. Now, yes, I am overweight, but you need not shame people because they're overweight. Healthy people are dying too. I don't have high blood pressure. I don't have diabetes. I don't have any of those things. I just have the asthma. And if the flu would do that to me with asthma, what will COVID do? So before you thinking about that, and asthma is something that you can develop later in life as well. If you live in a city with a lot of pollutants, stress can bring on asthma. Many teachers now are experiencing health issues because of the stress that they're under. Your life, your family's life, your loved one's life, your friend's life, it's not worth it. It's not worth it. It's not your imagination. I could not walk. I'm sitting right here. Perhaps my hospital bathroom was not even 12 inches away. I was out of breath and getting out of the bed and going to the restroom. That's what I want you to leave you with. Our kids sacrifice everything being a teacher. You know, how many times are you coming home and you are completely tired and you're just begging, please let me have enough energy to give my kids the same amount of energy that I've given all day. You're definitely not going to give them that with COVID. And your kids deserve a mother, a father, an uncle, an aunt, a cousin, a grandma, a grandpa, a friend. And that's all I want them to leave them with, Joel.
Thank you so much. Let me pause this.